Welcome to the show, everybody. This is episode number 252 of the Iron Coop Fights movies. This episode is available on iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, and hosted by SoundCloud. Check out my graphic novel. Ebook is only $2.99 on Amazon. Check the link for the description, or check the description for the link. All right, I'm Kier, your host. With me on the show today are my co-hosts Emerson
Hey, what's going on?
and Everett.
Hey, what's up?
This week, the team reviews Morbius. Dangerously ill with a rare blood disorder and determined to save others from the same fate, Dr. Morbius attempts a desperate gamble. While at first it seems to be a radical success, a darkness inside of him is soon unleashed. I'm going to explain our rating system. On this show, we give the titles that we have watched a rating of win, draw, or loss. A win is a title that we would highly recommend, while a draw is a title we didn't love but recognize others may appreciate. A loss means we do not recommend the title. Everett, why don't you go first this week?
Sure. Okay.
Emerson and I have talked about it.
I'm gonna give this movie a loss, but I think that's pretty self-explanatory. As a side note, I use this app. It's called Letterboxd XD. It's, you've probably heard of it. It's the movie app where people like post reviews and they talk about films that they see. I use it every once in a while to post reviews, and reading them for this movie have been hilarious. The top one that I see is Jared Leto's like King Midas, except everything he touches turns to shit. This movie's awful. It has horrible story. It has horrible pacing. Honestly, I don't even know how it got made. I feel like I've been seeing trailers for this thing for like the last 2 years because of the pandemic. And there just have been so many rewrites and reshoots, and the trailers were really, really like filled with false advertising. I think that's the best way to put it. But this was just a horrible movie. Like, I want to talk about it in spoilers, but yeah, it was awful.
All right, Emerson.
I unironically flirted with giving it a win. It has too many flaws to do that, but it is definitely a draw. I think Everett's drinking the fucking Kool-Aid on social media.
Nope, I don't like this at all.
I think this is significantly better than it appeared to be. I think it was a very solid film in some aspects and a very weak film in others, but overall it's pretty much average compared to most of the stuff we saw. I would bet money that it was more entertaining than Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett. I would bet money. I do think it was more entertaining than Moon Knight. It's a draw for me, and I want so badly to give it a win, just based off the fact that I think that for what it was, the fact that it was trying to be a serious movie with pretty damn good CGI, some interesting character arcs, some interesting things that are happening, aside from the fact that it had quite a few problems, is something that should be celebrated. But instead, all these fucks on social media are like dogpiling it because it isn't a Marvel movie and because of some true things. And so it's a draw for me, and I think it's hilarious how much hate it's getting.
It's a draw for me also. I don't think it's nearly as bad as what everyone is saying. In fact, I think the problem is that they just kind of told the wrong story. It's not too long, which is a good thing. And I don't really have a problem with Jared Leto. Like, I'm indifferent towards him. I don't know that much about him. I feel like a lot of people seem to know a lot about him. I don't know anything about the guy. They say he's a cult leader. I don't know what that means. He dresses like one, but like I don't want to hang out with him, like based on just how I've seen him dress. Like, he seems weird, but I haven't seen a movie where he was awful. I thought his Joker was bad, but not his performance as Joker. Um, I think maybe some blame does fall on the seagull laugh, but besides that, like, I think he's a good actor. I don't know, like, he's King Midas, except everything he touches turns to shit. That's not really true, box office wise. Like, what's
Cyberpunk,
what is Cyberpunk?
or not Cyberpunk, Blade
Blade
Runner
Runner.
2099 or whatever. He
That
was
was
in
a
that.
good movie.
It was a
Yeah,
good
he was
movie, but
in
his
Lord of
performance
War.
was average though. It wasn't like
Dallas
amazing.
Buyers Club. He played transvestite or something. I don't know.
I've never seen Dallas Buyers Club, so
He's
I
in
can't
Fight
talk
Club.
on it.
He's good in
Yeah,
Fight Club.
American Psycho. I mean, those are older movies. That's not Jared Leto of today. Batman vs Superman was he? No, he was in Suicide Squad. Okay, but that movie wasn't bad because of him. But his Joker just sucks. Like, that's. But I don't know how much of that was him, and like, I don't know. But they're actors, they're not writers. And sometimes like the lines are blurred, but I don't think he's in the writing room writing Joker's scenes.
No, he seemed like he was trying in the movie, but the majority of the problems I think fall on the director and the writers for this. The actors were okay. Matt Smith was a little iffy on my part.
Everett,
But
I think you're being way too harsh on it, my dude.
I
You
honestly,
don't think he looked cool when he
Oh,
was
no.
a vampire?
I've said it with you and Kia before. I think the design for this kind of stuff looks cool. I'd buy a figure of him.
All
if
right,
they did
let's
it.
just go into spoilers. Go ahead, talk about it.
I'd-
You don't
I'd buy-
think that the special effects were cool, like the powers? You don't think it was nice to have a refreshing movie that ends kind of quickly? They moved from point to point really fast. Like, okay, we're doing this now, we're doing that now, we're doing this. There were
They
a few
actually
points
take a
where-
little too long.
Yeah,
there were a few
blow through it.
points where it slowed down, but it
I mean, they
moved
could have
pretty
cut
damn
out
quick.
some of it. Like they could have cut
Like,
out.
compared to most of the stuff, like this was a fairly tight film. Yeah, the Tyrese whatever was not great. The jokes of his cop sidekick not fantastic. Anytime they tried to mention Venom,
Well,
was
I
kind
mean,
of stupid.
compare that to any of the bullshit ass sidekick jokes that you see in Marvel movies. Like,
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Like they're
not
equal,
worse
but
than that at all.
I criticize them there, and I'm gonna say they weren't fantastic. Like they weren't good. But like I don't like that his fucking love interest resurrects at the end for a second. That should have definitely been cut.
Yeah.
But it was cool.
They
Like,
pulled that
she
right out of
dies,
Let There Be Carnage.
she dies, and then he
They
bites
pull
her.
it right out of everything.
It
Everett.
happens in Marvel too. And
Bullseye
fucking Book of
comes
Boba
alive in
Fett.
Daredevil season 3.
Yeah.
The best season of Daredevil ever. Like
Yeah,
at the
like-
end, he's alive somehow.
But like, like it was badass. Like she dies in his arms and he has to fucking bite her to like ramp himself up to go fight the other guy. Like I thought it was cool. I liked seeing him like learn his powers.
His
And you know
red-blooded
what?
design looks cool. I'll admit that.
And
Like
you
I
know
said, I'd
what?
buy a figure of that if it
He
came
was
out.
fucking scary at points, and so was Matt Smith. When Matt Smith is fucking following that
It was
woman
scary
in the
at like
hospital,
2 points, to be fair. Like,
yeah,
he was
no, that's
scary,
true,
but it
when
was like
Matt
2
Smith was following him in the hospital, that was fucking scary. That woman, like you're seeing him crawl and the lights are coming on and off.
Yeah, I mean, sorta. Like that was like one little bit of it though, and then they just
Yeah,
jump scare you.
I don't want to see a horror movie, but I
That's how
thought that
horror
was
movies.
good.
You really
If-
didn't
I
think
did
his
want to
like
see a horror movie, to be honest.
you didn't think his little like what like in the mirror preening montage wasn't cringy?
In the
When
mirror,
did
what?
he-
Like
When
when
did
he's
he
like
do-
looking at himself with no shirt and he's like getting dressed and he's doing like the dance.
Who?
You mean Matt Smith?
Yeah, Matt Smith.
Yeah,
No,
that
I
was
actually-
not a great scene.
No, I thought that the more of the movie should have been that.
Okay.
Like, like I'm saying, the movie should be Jared Leto enjoying him, or maybe just fucking Matt Smith. Like, just get rid of Jared Leto, but enjoying being a vampire. That's what the movie should have been about.
Yeah, because
Not
when he was in the
like-
bar, that was interesting.
Yeah, not like, oh, I'm a vampire. There's a monster inside me, but I'm a good guy. And by the end of the movie, I'm somehow inexplicably like bad because that's what I need to be in order to fight Spider-Man. Like, it doesn't make sense. Imagine if there's no Michael Morbius and it's just Matt Smith's character. By the end of the movie, he's a full-fledged like vampire on the loose. You'd be like, all right, let's get Blade in there to fucking hunt this dude down. Like, that'll be a sick movie. This guy will not hold back. And like, you need someone like Blade or Spider-Man to come in and like handle him. That would be cool.
It would be cool, but like I'm gonna be
If
honest.
somebody kills Morbius, it's almost like you feel bad.
Yeah, because he's not a bad guy. Well, and like I liked watching like Morbius and Venom fight, or Venom, Jesus Christ, Morbius and Matt Smith fight. Like I thought the fights were decent. It was a lot of at its best. It was far more interesting than a lot of the stuff I've seen in like, excusing Spider-Man, a lot of the Marvel stuff. And at worst, it was about average.
Well, there's
I
that
really-
rule. Go ahead.
I really do think, and I'm not saying everybody's doing this, but a lot of the buzz around this movie are people dogpiling on it because it's not Marvel, so it's funny to shit on it, and like it's fun to like attack it. There are there are serious.
I'm gonna try to find.
Well, I'm not dogpiling
Look at
on
this.
it
Look at this.
because,
Look at this headline though. Morbius opens with an 84 million at the worldwide box office for debut that sucked. That is so rude to put a headline like that.
And it's like, remember when they were fucking like, oh my god, Uncharted did amazing at
Yeah.
34 million?
Yeah, this is like, to say that it sucked in your headline That's not reporting. That's not journalism. Tell us what that means. You want to say it's not a great opening? Well, here's another article that says that they're expecting Morbius to do a 50 million debut for North American box office. But that would be the lowest opening because Venom did 80 and Let
So
There
it
Be
beat
Carnage did
Venom.
90. So it beat Venom.
And it's
And
almost right at Let There Be Carnage.
and they say sucked in the headline.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't understand. I think it's because it's not Marvel and it's fun to shit on Sony. But this is some herd mentality bullshit. This movie is better than Shang-Chi. For me, at least. I enjoyed watching this far more than Shang-Chi.
People will say like because of the final battle with the colors and the dragon and all that shit that it's like no way that like Shang-Chi was better without really thinking about the story. The problem is this isn't the hill to die on because the story here is not great either.
It isn't great, but I'm not going to die on the hill, but I'm going to hold the hill for quite a while before I
You're
retreat.
saying that this is shit. It's not like diarrhea. That's what you're saying. Is people are saying this is diarrhea, and you're like, no, this is just a normal shit. That's what you're saying.
Actually, to be quite honest, I think this is just average overall at this point. You might say normal shit, but
yeah, you're right. In my opinion, average is shit. Yes, like it is your average run of the mill.
But what I'm saying is that there are Marvel movies and Marvel shows and stuff that get fucking crazy press. Look at what you just showed. Venom: Let There Be Carnage was an absolute fucking disaster.
That movie was actually bad.
Like, yeah, it was, and it got 6 million more at the debut than Morbius. And this headline sucks, where they were like, "It's guaranteed that Let There Be Carnage will get a fucking sequel." It's absolute trash.
Right.
Everett, did you like Venom more than this movie?
The original Venom?
Yes.
Yes, I liked the original Venom more than this movie.
But that's like, to me, it's like they're on the same level quality wise.
They're
like,
about equal. The only difference is this one takes itself a little more seriously, which I personally enjoy more because I'm tired of every single thing being a joke all the time. And this movie has still too many jokes, but we need to see more stuff that takes itself seriously.
I actually would like to hear Everett's, what do you think is so bad? Like you basically said everything, but we're going to have to press you to be a little more specific because I'm curious because to me it's all adequate and unremarkable. But you said like it was the worst thing you ever saw.
Well, I did not say it was the worst thing I've ever seen. I do think.
Chat, can we go back to the first?
But you did like shit on basically every aspect of it in your initial review.
Okay. Well, if I have to nitpick, there are things I like. Like Emerson's right. The aesthetic of it is really cool. Like I like his power set. And
well, that's what I was going to say. There's that rule of like by the third movie, you're sick of seeing the hero. Well, since we see so much generic bullshit, it was nice to actually just see a power set that we haven't seen before. Like it was very refreshing visually. That was like half the reason I enjoyed myself is because I was just like, all right, I'm entertained. You know, like the same way people are entertained by the flying dragons in Shang-Chi. I'm like, I like to see the way that is like whatever effect that it's on them as they run around. And I don't mind. Like I'm enjoying that part. Yeah, there's not much of a story. That's why it's a draw and not.
But Everett, what sucked? Name something that sucked. Like that clearly made it worse than everything else.
I'm not okay. I know you guys say you like the fast pacedness. I didn't like that. That's one of the things I'd say I would change
it to be slower.
I wanted a little bit slower because I like the parts of this movie that are slow. Like,
well, I think you need
when he's in the hospital room as Michael Morbius when he's like caring for that little girl and they're having that moment. I like stuff like that where it kind of like flushes out the kind of person he is, and you kind of see that he's like an emotional person and he cares about people.
Longer scene of that?
No, but more scenes like that. They had another one where they were showing like the duality between him and his vampire alter ego. He's in the room with his whatever her name is, and she pricks her finger, and you kind of see him going through the motions of trying to resist the bloodlust. I like that. Like it kind of shows the inner turmoil.
Yeah, that stuff is good. But my question, and I think this is what Kia was asking, is do you think there was like compared to the average stuff we see these days, where it is 75% just like we're walking around chatting and then one thing happens, boom, sequel, which this movie basically does at the very end.
You really want they kind of do the walking around chatting thing at the beginning.
Yeah, at the beginning. But what I'm saying is, where would you want to see more of him walking around in this script? Like,
okay, well, I'm not sure what him walking around is the way to put it.
Well, let me go to what I think you might be like when you said like watching him like try to handle being a vampire. That was a lot like what I said. Like, yeah, more scenes where it's like, dude, you're a vampire. This is a big problem. Or maybe it's really awesome. Like, let's explore more of that and less of like, I
Well,
gotta save the world or stop
I
whatever.
want more of that morality split because they do say like, yes, he's trying not to give into the bloodlust and feed on people. That's why he goes after the synthetic blood first, and he's forced to go after the red blood later. But I kind of want to explore that a little bit more because they kind of kick it into the whole he's on the run thing a little bit early. Like people start dying and
So
he's immediately wanted by the police. He escapes, he's in jail. I kind of wanted to see, like, I had a thought in my head, like, what would you do if he got the powers and went back to being like a public doctor, but he still had to fight that bloodlust as a doctor? So like imagine like with that same little girl, like let's say she's in surgery and there's blood everywhere. He now has to do that while fighting off the bloodlust. Something along those lines where there's
yeah,
actual
well, either he
stakes.
does or he doesn't. That's the problem with that. Is if he
Or
can
you do
stop
6
himself.
episodes of him doing medical stuff, and once an episode he's like, Willie, won't he, Willie, and then nothing happens, and then the final episode he like bites someone.
Um, I think that, but Everett, like, who's the villain in that version of of the story?
Well, I don't know, that's sort of my point is I want him to be the villain, but I want you to also like feel sympathy for him. Like I don't know. I guess I didn't really feel much for him in this.
I thought that they should have leaned into the sexy vampire thing a little more, because isn't that why they cast Jared Leto? Is to like the reason he looks like a cult leader is because and like they have it a little bit where he's got like the shirt open like here and there. Like, that's all like vampire stuff.
You gotta find like the perfect version of it where he gets the powers and he gets a little bit maybe like carried away with, oh, I'm able to do things now, I'm not on crutches, I can live my life, and he starts going overboard, and then he starts to realize the toll it takes on him doing that kind of stuff and what it like
Well,
drinking
I
blood
couldn't
and
track
having to
that.
stay that way.
I couldn't track that. So he took the serum and it made him good, but then he needed the artificial blood
To
to keep
maintain it.
himself from turning into the vampire monster.
No,
Well,
he
no.
turns back into like a cripple if he doesn't drink blood.
But as long as he's drinking the blood, he can also turn into Morbius.
I think it was that, yeah, it's if he doesn't drink the blood, he goes back to being a cripple. But if he drinks pure human blood, he goes overboard into that bloodlust mode, I
But I
think.
thought the only reason he drinks the red blood is because he's in the bloodlust mode.
Well, the only reason he drank the red blood is because he was forced to. He was trying to stay on the synthetic blood as long as he could because it would sustain him without letting him go overboard. But he also said that its effects were starting to wane. Like the time was getting shorter between the times that he would go nuts or like lose
I
it would
mean,
lose its
that's not
potency.
bad. That's not bad.
Yeah,
It adds a
so-
timetable to it, which is nice.
So with respect, Everett, like we've asked you what you hated, and you've kind of been like, I want to see more slow stuff, which
Well,
that's
that's what I'm
fair,
saying. Like,
but
I wish the
that's
movie
not
wasn't as
that
fast.
bad.
I didn't really like the dialogue he had. Like, I think the example I was going to bring up was whenever he's talking to Matt Smith, it doesn't really feel, I don't know, it doesn't feel that good. Like when they're walking on the street and they're just having that kind of like casual conversation. That's like the improv-y talk that I don't really like in films.
Yeah, I agree when they're both in their crutches at the beginning, kind of. Yeah, it was not great, but it was pretty average. Like it was not good, but it was like, okay, I've seen
Matt
this shit
Smith
before.
just kind of like flip. I mean, I guess they kind of set it up at the beginning when he beats the shit out of those kids, but he kind of just goes nuts like immediately, and then he gets
I
defeated like
think
effortlessly.
most people would go nuts immediately.
He
if you
gets
gave it to
defeated
them.
effortlessly though.
I thought
Like-
that the whole kid bullying thing was so over the top and ridiculous.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
ridiculous. Like they're like looking at them in the window and being like, "Oh, look at those fucking idiots."
Okay, well,
Um,
let me say this. I don't think there was anything wrong with how Matt Smith portrayed the character.
I did not mind Matt Smith, but okay, let's move to another. Everett, you said there was false advertising. I'd like to hear what you mean by that.
Okay, well, wasn't there that scene where it's Tyrese going, "You're a doctor. You don't take lives. You save lives. You don't take them."
So
Something like that,
movie,
right?
that line was like incredibly important.
Well,
It's false advertising.
I kind of thought there'd be a more suspenseful scene between the cops and him, like,
because
sort of like what I was going back to, like him trying to fight the bloodlust off a little bit, where you're trying to see the difference between the doctor and the monster. Like
you-
you're in a situation where he's trying to like resist it, and you have these people. I don't know. Maybe I'm bad at explaining.
Do you
that.
remember the trailer where Tyrese Gibson's character is walking up with something on his arm? Like in some of the first trailers, he's got like what looks like wires and stuff on his arm. Okay. That's what was erased in reshoots. They're supposed to be like he's got some sort of power, like he's got like a super arm and he like fucks him up with the arm. That's what was rumored. I'm
Oh,
so glad
okay.
they cut that because a lot of the shit that was cut out, I agree that that line is like fine. But from what I understand, a lot of the shit that was cut out was like stuff that I think I really would have disliked. I think they pared this down from a long fucking snooze fest that made zero sense to something that is about average and is refreshing. And I genuinely like I've looked at like so much stuff on social media that's just shitting on it relentlessly. And you want to shit on the post-credit scenes, by all means do, because that stuff is fucking garbage.
Let's not even touch that.
Okay,
That's a
but
different thing.
yeah, you want to shit on them, that's fine.
We'll
My
go over
point
that in
is,
a bit. But
the movie itself, I think, is at worst, it's basically average. And I think it does a lot of stuff that was new or refreshing, at least. Now, if you see 10 of these in a year,
well, okay.
fuck it.
When you say new and refreshing, are you only referring to like the power set and the design of those powers?
Well, first of all, that's
I think
kind of
I am,
significant.
yeah.
In everything you see, considering almost all their power sets and designs these days are generic, the same thing. Also, the fact that this is an
I mean,
interesting,
thank God he's not doing like energy blasts.
yeah, like
how much of
every other
that?
fucking person on the planet. Or like the other thing is, I'm interested in a movie that, at least for its core, is like a self-contained story. Like they clearly wanted the setup, but if you take this movie without the post-credit scenes, it's like, all right, it's done. I don't think we're going to see a sequel. I think it deserves a sequel because it could be interesting to see what they try to do. They probably fuck it up, but it would be interesting. I think this deserves a sequel more than Venom deserves a third movie.
If they're going to do a third Venom movie, it better have Spider-Man in it. Otherwise, don't make it. But I will admit, I do kind of want to see him face off against someone, Spider-Man, anyone else. Maybe
Or
not Venom,
He
but
could fight Venom. He could fight, but the thing is, like, I'm also far more interested in this dynamic where he's fighting the part of himself. In Venom, you know what's fucking annoying? When he's quote unquote fighting himself and then the head comes out of his body and makes a joke about like chickens.
yeah.
That's not interesting to me. When someone's like, and
Venom should be the master of doing that correctly, but they fucked it up
but he's
both
not.
times.
Morbius did it better. Moon Knight has this issue too. If you're gonna do character fighting himself, if you're gonna constantly underpin it with jokes, I'm not as interested. Because you know what's not funny? Oh, I'm fighting against my own urges. We should eat his head. You're a turd rolling in the wind. Blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, wow, he's really fighting himself, isn't he?
I mean, I guess I
ask
can
you
also
something?
say like you
Everett?
can't. There's only like one other character that I can think of that you can do the fighting against your morality and yourself with,
Yeah,
and that's
and
Hulk.
it's Jesus, but that's already been done. Oh,
Well, Hulk didn't do it that well when they showed it the
But
first
Everett,
time.
where does that Venom stuff come from? Where he like says weird shit, like talks about turds. Is that a comic thing?
It might something like that. I think it was like I think it might have been Lethal Defender.
it's dumb as shit. I really dislike it.
It's
'Cause the
definitely
90s
from the comics.
The
It's
90s
definitely
show
from the
is
comics.
not like that, and that's like what I think Venom is. But
I think for the most part that this movie, like, do you understand how I wish we could see more stuff that I was like, wow, that was refreshing, even if it wasn't good. The power set, the fighting, the fact that it was a short story that ended. Like, and you know what? How many movies these days do you watch and you're like, man, that's really sick? Like Matrix Resurrections. The CGI,
Matrix
the
Resurrections was
powers,
awful.
I know, that's my point. Like that movie should have been able to be like, yeah, it was cool. Like the fighting and CGI were interesting, like the effects, but it wasn't. It was boring and bland. And all the Disney Plus shows, they feel exactly the same in terms of their combat and the way they fight. This felt different. This was like, okay, I haven't seen this before. Like he has said, if you see this 2 or 3 times, you're probably going to be like, eh.
So
Okay,
let me
I'll concede for the moment. I can possibly change
Yeah,
my
roll
review
over.
to a draw.
well,
roll
let me
over,
shit
man.
on some of it now. So, like, there's a lot that I don't know. Maybe because I've already seen Venom and 1 and 2 to know like they just do things that don't make any sense, and so I was more willing to accept it because I remember in Venom when they say like if it's not a right match that it destroys the host within 2 days.
And then they just did it anyway.
Well, they had that Asian woman who like apparently he was living as that Asian woman for 3 months,
and then
which
to a
makes no
child, and then
Yeah.
to other people, and then to like the CEO. Yeah.
but it specifically tells you that he was that with that one host for 3 months. So that doesn't make any sense with what they say later on about how it affects like a perfect match or an imperfect match. So, but there's shit like this in this movie where she like what's her name? I don't know.
The doctor woman.
Yeah, what was her name?
I don't fucking know.
Bancroft, I think.
Was her name
Laura
Bancroft?
Croft?
No,
I think her name was Bancroft.
the
His
Hispanic
assistant.
chick?
His assistant,
Her
right?
name was Bancroft.
We're still talking about Morbius, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, his assistant, I think, was named. Her last name was Bancroft, I think. Let me
yeah,
double
it
check.
was
but-
Martine Bancroft. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go back to that name. Remind me. But um okay, so like she comes to him and she says, you know, you're in trouble. And then she goes, "Why didn't you tell me about this?" And he has a full-on bat habitat chamber in his laboratory. How the fuck could he have put that there without anybody knowing what that was?
Well, it's pretty obvious they're all retarded, Kia.
But that's like that's the kind of shit that type of logic is all through this movie. So you almost have to just wipe it away, which if I had hopes for this movie, I wouldn't be so willing. But because I've seen Venom 1 and Venom 2 where shit doesn't make sense. Like she's like, when were you going to tell me about this? And then I see people walking by in the background, in the windows, like in the hallway. They're walking by, like they can see into the
Someone
chamber.
even walks in at one point, and it's like when they go after the girl who's like going into cardiac arrest, that assistant comes in and sees it. Remember?
Yeah, and he even
It's
makes
not
a
secret
mention
at
later
all.
about privacy shutters or whatever. But then they talk about plausible deniability. Whereas like, hey, if you didn't know, then you know you can't be held guilty. But then the very next scene is like a montage of her helping him now. So like we're supposed to assume that he chose to protect her, but because she knew about it, he is now just bringing her completely in. I'm like, none of this makes sense. If you also, it doesn't seem like this could be a one-man operation. So you were always going to need somebody. So like basically none of this actually adds up to like a thing a person would do. Like the logical thread through the scenes of like why they're doing what they're doing, none of it's there. It's all incoherent. Like, but it just gets you to the part. So I was telling Emerson like a lot of these scenes feel like they could be the B plot in a hero's like solo film.
Mhm.
So like there's the hero, there's the villain, and then there is the third villain. I guess call it C plot. I would call it whatever, but call it the C plot. So like this is like the Sandman story, where Spider-Man 3 is about Venom, even though technically Spider-Man 3 is a bad example, but you know what I mean when they have like two
Yes.
there's like the main thing and then there's the third guy who's like around. Maybe like Electro and Goblin, where Electro is more like the chaotic power and Goblin is actually like the more moral conflict with Peter. So like Morbius would be the power, chaotic power storyline. So for example, he's going to do the lab thing on himself, right? Like that should be in the movie. Does he need to do it on a ship? Probably not. He could have just gone crazy in his own lab and like killed everyone, which would have put him on the loose. As far as what movie should it have been, I'm tempted to be like, okay, would you set up Morbius in his own film? I think that's a mistake, but it seems to be something Sony is hell bent on doing. But what you should do is put Peter versus someone else and have Morbius be the third villain. I went back and I rewatched the 90s animated series because that's where I know Morbius from. That's who I think of when you say Morbius is this guy with his like vampire hands.
Mhm.
And I actually think like the movie does a pretty good job of emulating him. He's actually hilarious in in the show. Like before he's even a vampire, Felicia Hardy's like, "All right, good night. I'm going to bed," and he's like, "Sleep the sleep of the dearly departed." It's like, okay,
He
dude,
looks like something out of Gargoyles.
like you're not even a fucking vampire yet. Chill out. What are you talking about? Sleep like a dead person? Um, I kind of like that. Like I almost wish the movie would have leaned into that stuff more because it's not going to be taken seriously anyway, you know? Um, but so so Bancroft in this show is the girlfriend of one Sergey. God, what's
Is that the
Cravenov?
Rhino?
No, Craven the Hunter. What's his last name?
I'm not
Sergey Cravenov or something like that. Isn't that right? Everett, you don't. What's Craven's
Um,
name?
I'm trying to look it up.
So anyway,
Kravinoff, I think. Yeah,
Cravenov.
Kravinoff.
Okay, so they're like together. Craven. Okay, Craven hunting him. This is a lot to unpack, but so there's three things from my childhood. Okay, Batman the animated series. There's the black suit Spider-Man, and then the third thing that really sticks to me is the episode with Spider-Man where he turns into a spider.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it's actually pretty fucking cool. Like I know like this isn't the best representation of that picture, but he grows four more arms and it's more like something's going wrong with him. He's trying to suppress it, but he's like like it rips out of him. He's like in real pain and Bancroft is trying to save him. This is already after he's had a run-in with Craven the Hunter, so like he's sort of out of commission. But this is actually a really good story to happen alongside a Morbius story. Because what ends up happening is he turns into a man spider and Craven turns into like a full-on man bat. Here.
Craven does or Morbius?
Oh, sorry, Morbius. Sorry, Morbius. They both transform. So like you could have a thread there where because especially Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, like it was more like animal based, like crossing with their
Mhm.
villains, with the Rhino and the Vulture. Like you saw, there was like that tease of all that shit. Um, if this had happened and they had both been mutating, then you could have put another antagonist, such as Blade, which I guess they couldn't have used Blade, but they could have used Craven to come and try to hunt both of them, and that would be better than a symbiote. The problem is, what do you do with Venom? And I don't have an answer for that. I don't think that works. I don't really think Venom works at all.
They fucked any chance they had of working. Do you remember how you used to be like, dude, Carnage is fucking sick. I'm interested to see what they do with him. And then like,
Yeah.
Well, that's because Carnage is an actual scary character in the comics and
is
in the
he
shows.
now? Because
No,
I'm going off the movies.
it's the same
One
thing
scene
that I
was
said
all
about this
right.
movie. The design is cool, but what they did with it was pretty bad.
Um,
But even then, like he's kind of like oversized, even there.
he's over. Yeah, he's not comic accurate, but um, so if you do a Venom with Andrew Garfield, I think you should already establish him as having like met Mary Jane. Problem is with Venom, if you're going to do the symbiote story, he has to have people around him that Peter Parker burns bridges with. So he has Aunt May and he needs like a Mary Jane. He has to have one. It's kind of a weird thing to do after
And
the
now
Gwen
Tom
Stacy thing.
Holland's guy has nothing.
He also has nothing, right? That's why it has to be Andrew Garfield because Toby already did it. So it has to be that. Also, yeah, because we already seen the Venom in that universe. So it has to be Andrew Garfield. But that seems to me like a different movie. But I think an Andrew Garfield where he's like, I don't know, I forget what caused him to like start growing the arms and become a spider, but um, that would be a crazy thing if they did it like in a scary way. That would have been insane. The problem is you already did Morbius, so something would now have to happen to Morbius to cause him to become more of a
Yeah, but that's
vampire.
not that hard.
it
He
could
can be
be
fucking
done.
with it, trying to stabilize it, and it just makes him lose it.
Yeah, but
And
the
that's how you could
problem
connect the
is,
two. Like Peter Parker, like a few years later, could be. Didn't he do like Parker Industries at some point in the comics? Why not Morbius go find a scientist to help him with his affliction, and he just happens to come across Peter Parker.
maybe the
Especially,
thing is,
especially in there, because he probably would have heard like that Richard Parker was like an expert on like animal studies and DNA.
I just feel like him
So
trying to balance the vampire thing is what this movie was. And so like now you're just doing it again. So when does he actually become a like when does he get to be a vampire? Like because that's kind of the fun aspect of the character is that he's a fucking vampire. And he gets to walk around and he can walk in the sun like he's out there. And so
what do they call Blade? A day walker?
yeah, he's a day walker. So I think that maybe that this movie should have been him like enjoying the vampire part. The second movie should have been it's like out of control and he's actually still transforming and he needs like Peter's help, like you said, Everett. But Peter gets caught up somehow and now he's also transforming. Craven comes for both of them, and you can do some fun action. It's going to be an action movie. It's not going to be.
Oh, think of it this way. Remember how in No Way Home, Andrew Garfield says like he kind of lost hope and he got bitter, stopped pulling his punch, stuff like that. If you wanted to do another Spider-Man movie with him, you could have it be like him trying to get rid of his spider powers. He goes to Morbius because he knows maybe that he works with that kind of stuff.
I
They
don't know
both
about that.
Well, think about it that way. Morbius wants to get rid of his vampire stuff, or like at least like maybe stabilize it. Peter Parker wants to get rid of his spider powers. They both take a serum, and it both goes wrong. He gets the arms, and Morbius goes nuts. That would be a good setup.
Okay, so there's two things. One, after No Way Home, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man wouldn't necessarily want to go back and be like, I don't want to be Spider-Man anymore. He would probably be revitalized.
Yeah, reinvigorated.
And he would have hope again and he would find love and all that. What I like about your idea though, Everett, is what if Morbius came to him and was like, listen, I have an idea of how I could possibly undo this, but I need your resources. And Peter helps him and it's successful, or so they think. Then Peter has the dilemma of like Spider-Man kind of ruins my life. Maybe I could just go on and be happy with Mary Jane and I'm going to do it too. And then it turns out it actually like made it a lot worse.
It doubles down on the mutation.
And then you have Craven. And I mean, not Blade. Blade won't work, but unless you bring back Wesley Snipes. But Marvel, I don't think would okay that because they have the rights now. So, but yeah, I mean, there were ways to make this work. I think Morbius is a cool character. I think the vampire look is cool.
That picture you've had on screen like the last 5 minutes, him just leg locks around Spider-Man.
Like this must be from a different episode because I don't remember him looking like that.
That just looks like gargoyles. I like it, but
it does look like gargoyles, but I'm okay with it looking like
gargoyles. Remind me, like the things on his hands, that's how he like sucks blood, right?
It's because it's a cartoon, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's weird. And that's how they show that the guy has been drained because they can't like show him with his throat cut.
But it just looks like he got shot like 16 times.
Yeah. Yeah, with like miniature bullets. Spider-Man fights Blade. Oh, here's another picture of him like losing his mind. Like even in the show, they're like, "What the?" He's like, "What's happening? This is crazy." I'm down. I like it. I would like to see that. Can you imagine the figure that would come out of that?
Oh man, that'd be interesting.
Let's see if we can find more pictures of that.
If I remember correctly, like they did a comic version of that that went two ways. One of them was like he got eaten by like a hive of spiders, and then the hive like downloaded his consciousness. But the other one was that I think he like cocooned himself after he became a spider, and he was reborn.
I'll be right
with the
back.
biological. He had the biological web shooters after that, and he could like communicate with spiders and stuff.
I don't remember the episode where he fights like multiple Spider-Man.
That's Scarlet Spider right there.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen that animated show? Because
I've seen some episodes. I haven't.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. like, let's see the transformation. I always, that's Bancroft, that chick.
Mhm.
I always like this. Look, he's losing his shit's like his insides are coming out. This could be pretty cool cinematically if they do it right. Let's see. Problem is this will never happen because all Sony wants to do is try to fake their way into the MCU. Like that's all they care about. Instead of just telling a cool story. Like this is crazy. This is insane. Can you imagine this happening to Andrew Garfield?
Oh, that's trippy.
Oh. And
Oh my
he goes to Bancroft. He's like, "You gotta help me. This is like I'm sick."
I'm back.
And then he like loses it, but it like keeps trying to come back until he turns into like Man Spider or something. We're just saying, can you imagine this happening to Andrew Garfield?
That's yeah, make Spider-Man the villain of the movie.
Um, what else? What else about
The
this
post
movie?
credit scene now, I think.
I'm trying to think anything besides that. It was a lot of like fun action and story plot holes. Basically it.
Yeah, I mean,
All right, so these post-credit sequences are some of the worst things I've ever seen. But
oh yeah, they're fucking awful. They're actually one of like the first one is just stupid. He just shows up. Actually, the first one is somewhat excusable, but it's moronic.
Okay, wait a minute.
Like-
How many were there? There were 2, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I walked out after the second one.
okay, so clearly he was meant to, at the end of the movie, just to be like, "Hey, Morbius, like I am in this world also." Like that was what was supposed to happen. Instead, because of No Way Home, it fucked everything. So they can't now say, "Oh, he's in the universe." So they had to use the visual aspect of the multiverse, which is still it doesn't make sense because how does he end up in a different universe? And
Is he now breaking their universe now?
well, what they're gonna say is like, "Oh, Strange didn't do it right," and it like people ended up where they shouldn't have ended up. Like that's essentially what the excuse is gonna be. Okay, fine. So he somehow ended up in the wrong place, and they release him. It's not that bad of a scene, other than we know behind the scenes it's just Sony like fucking trying to force their way in, and they won't stop. Like they just won't stop. They won't give up trying to force their way into the MCU. And it worked. There are a lot of people right now that think Morbius is in the MCU. Like there are a lot of people. Honestly, like reading comments about what people think, and I'm just like, I'm so done with all of it.
One
Like
second.
I can't take it anymore of like people just jumping on the hype train constantly for every little thing without applying any critical thinking. Like this is like the dying gasps of the Sony Venom verse or whatever you want to call it. Like they're just trying to find some way to stay relevant with Michael Keaton. I sent you guys an article before that said Kevin Feige didn't approve these Adrian Toome things. It's
I
like,
saw it.
and then people are like, "Wow, yeah, that it didn't really seem like he approved this." Like, are you an idiot? Like the fact that Michael Keaton was in the movie at all tells you that Kevin Feige didn't approve this. Like they don't play nice. Like I don't know. I just can't take it anymore. Like it's so frustrating watching people act like this is planned somehow. Like there's some plan behind all this.
No, it's just Sony trying to capitalize on the hype, but
So
people are idiots.
while Emerson's gone, let's recap what happened. This
All
movie
right.
was supposed to come out 3 years ago. They
Mhm.
were going to try to force their way in with Michael Keaton. The movie got delayed due to COVID. Venom came out first. They forced Tom Holland to do that stupid post-credit sequence, and they tried to shoehorn their way in with Venom 2. And then in No Way Home, they literally threw them back out. And then they had to do all the reshoots for this movie, which is why Michael Keaton was doing reshoots up until like 2 months ago. And so they had to change it to make it make sense for why he was even there, because they probably already paid him and now like couldn't use him. So they had to do the reshoots. but it's still just another stab like into Marvel's heart of like, oh, like Marvel, are they going to use Adrian Toomes anymore?
I mean,
Think about
I
it.
guess they can't if they're following those rules. But
If you were Kevin Feige, would you want to use him again?
I mean,
Because you could just say ignore those movies. Like those movies mean nothing.
my safe bet would be no, because I feel like his arc already got completed. But I'd
Yeah.
also like to keep him in my back pocket in case there's a possibility sometime down the line.
I think he was done unless at some point you do a story where everyone breaks out of prison and like he's out there, but he would then help. He would be like Dr. Octopus in No Way Home. Like he would be on Peter's side more or less. Although now you could say, oh, he doesn't remember who Peter is and all that bullshit. Like, all right, whatever. I don't know. But, we bought those Iron Scavenger figures.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they were told by Hot Toys, Jazz Inc., they were told by Hot Toys that Hot Toys was not going to pursue a Vulture figure. But I was always worried because I'm like, well, what if they bring him back for one of these movies? And then Hot Toys will make the figure. And then it's like, I just spent that money on that figure when I didn't have to. But now it seems like, yeah, Michael Keaton ain't coming back.
I know. And even if he did, the design that he had in this, I feel like is a little bit worse, if anything.
I'm back.
It seemed a little worse. Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't sell my Iron Scavenger for anything. I like him.
No, but I wouldn't. I like the Chitauri tech aspect to his design. Not even just how it looks, but just story wise. So when it's like he doesn't have that anymore. Also, the Tinker.
What are we discussing?
The Vulture's.
Oh God!
Um,
Did you already get to the fact that it wasn't actually him?
No,
Okay.
but so like the Tinkerer built the wings. Michael Keaton doesn't seem like the kind of guy that has that type of technical knowledge. He's the action guy. He's not the design guy.
He can fly it, but not design it. It's like Rhodey in the Iron.
Well, he
the
had
War
to
Machine
build
armor.
it from scratch. Like it's not like he rebuilt the same wings. He would have to come up with new technology to support. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, yeah. And then clearly it wasn't Michael Keaton in the sequence at all, like in that scene. It's not him. It doesn't even make sense. Like, why did Morbius get out of the car? His timer wasn't up. Was he supposed to get out to like drink blood or something?
I took it the way Michael Keaton talks about him. He's like, "Oh wait, thanks for getting to my meeting. I'm glad you got my message."
He was like following a GPS out to the middle of nowhere.
Oh, okay. So he gets out. Vulture shows up. I mean, Emerson, you did a pretty good impression of what he said.
Well, he's like, I don't know what happened, but I came to this universe. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. We should team up and get revenge. Something stupid like that. It's
Yeah,
so
do some good or something.
Yeah, he's like, I think a group of us could do some good.
He literally says like, I had no idea how I got here. I don't know what the fuck is going on,
But I think it has to do with Spider-Man.
yeah, and a couple of guys like us could maybe do something about it. Like,
And Morbius is like, all right.
and Morbius is like, wait a second. It seems like you were in jail from where you came from, and here you seem to have established yourself with brand new technology, and nobody knows who you are. And Spider-Man you're not on his radar at all. I don't know what you're going to do because your whole thing was stealing Stark tech and Chitauri tech. And since none of that exists, I'm not really sure what your plan is at this point. You somehow were able to steal enough materials to build the wings. Why don't you just steal whatever else you want the way you got that? Why fight Spider-Man? Like,
Because I think I got here something to do with Spider-Man.
Imagine if they had
So
the balls
bad.
to use the design from.
And it wasn't even Michael Keaton. It was a body double.
Yeah.
Wasn't even a body double. I think
I don't
was
even
just
know
a
if it was
guy.
his voice.
It was his voice.
Is there a picture of his suit side by side from?
I don't know because the movie just came out. So, yeah, I thought it was one of the worst post-credit sequences I've ever seen.
It was. I think it actually might be the worst. What would be worse? The Shang-Chi one was pretty bad.
What was the Shang-Chi one?
Wasn't it when Wong jumps out. He's like, I need you to both come with me.
I thought that was at the end of the movie.
Well, they were going. They were talking about how the rings were alien. Remember, Captain Marvel was there.
Oh, that was like they were in a different place, right?
Yeah.
They weren't at the bar anymore.
They were in
Yeah.
the sanctum,
That
and then
one
they
was
went
bad.
karaokeing with Wong.
Oh yeah, that was pretty bad. This is worse, but it's close.
You know what I just realized? I'm looking up trying to find pictures. I realized one of the things they never really discussed was, remember in one of the older trailers they had that picture of Spider-Man from the PS4 game that looked like Tobey Maguire and it said murderer
I think
on
they
it.
cut that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So they never mentioned that. It's odd.
The movie is like they don't know. Like I don't understand how Sony, the company, could sit there and look at the way this has been managed and still allow these people to keep doing it.
To be honest, you say that, but Venom made more money than it cost. Venom 2 made more money than it cost. What was the budget on this?
I don't know, but it made more than Venom. So like, and Venom was considered enough to greenlight the sequel, which also did better.
Morbius's
So-
budget was 75 million.
There's no
Yeah,
reason.
so it's already
Yeah, 5
recouped
million
its-
plus advertising though. There was a lot of advertising, and also they did it like for 3 years, because there was their initial run up, then there was like
yeah,
it was
but
gonna release.
this is gonna make more than
I don't think it's gonna make that much more. I think it's gonna
Mhm.
drop off pretty hard.
Venom Let There Be Carnage made a total of 110 million.
110 million.
Or
So
no,
it only
sorry,
made
Venom
10
Let There Be
more.
Carnage cost 110 million to make. So it was more expensive than this.
Interesting. Okay.
So if you check out this last weekend, Morbius was number 1 with 39. Then The Lost City, which beat the Batman in its 4th week.
Uncharted's still there for reasons unknown.
Well, there's no other movies. That's so like there has to be a number.
What do you
What's-
mean, dude?
what's
Jujutsu
Jujutsu?
Kaisen
Yeah.
0. The
Yeah, what is that? So that's number 5. That's crazy. So
Yeah.
Uncharted is still there, which I will watch at some point. I just don't know when.
I'll watch it when it's free.
Yeah. And then the Batman, which is still going, like cool. The Lost City, I can't believe people even went to see that. That's pretty wild. That feels like a Netflix movie. Like a bad one. Morbius doesn't really register.
Well, Morbius, according to that top 2022 movies, it's going to take 3rd place
Interesting. Okay.
or 4th place. My bad.
Yeah, at least 4th place. Yeah. Let's see. Would it already be here? It's already number 10 because
Spider-Man No Way Home didn't even come out this year, and it's already
it's
at number
domestic though. So 39 domestic. So I don't see it getting up to 85. It's not going to beat Sing 2. I think it'll be Dog. And that's not, that's, if it doesn't beat Dog, I think you got a problem. Wow, Lost City actually beat Morbius.
Dude, what
And
the fuck?
Jackass. will
Oh,
beat The
has it
Lost
been out a
City.
week? Lost City has been out a week, hasn't it?
I think it'll beat Jackass at least. I don't think The
Not.
Lost City. It came out March 25th. Yeah, it's been out. It's been out a week.
It
I
was a
think.
week ahead. Yeah. Okay. I mean, it'll probably beat The Lost City.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's only April, so I guess that also doesn't matter. Push everything down by like 5.
I doubt it's gonna get up to where Spider-Man is, but
I've heard. Why even say that, Everett? I was like, wait, what the fuck did he just say? Moonfall. I heard Moonfall is like a batshit insane, stupid, fun movie.
well, it's a Roland Emmerich movie, right? Or
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's one of those "it's so bad it's good" movies, from what I heard.
I read the plot. I'm tempted.
Dude, my
to go see
computer
it.
is making some weird fucking noises.
You can't hear anything.
I know, but on like it sounds like crackling, and I'm like, is this about to explode?
There might be something caught in the fan. That happens with my computer sometimes.
I hope that's it.
Okay, so we talked about Morbius. You guys want to talk about?
Was there a fight of the week?
Oh yeah, is there a fight of the
So
week?
my fight of the week for this was just going to be Kia, like, because I know that you, even though you somewhat enjoyed it, you were kind of like, I've got I like you. It was going to be just what would you have rather seen? And you already explained that.
Oh, come on. You can like put me against the bullies or something.
You would have fucked them all up. I'm still trying to figure out, this is a weird fucking noise. I've never heard this before in my life.
So how about, what was that other thing we were supposed to talk about? What the fuck was it called? Oh, Everett, did you watch Halo?
I watched the first episode.
Did we talk about that last week, or had you not watched it?
No, we
didn't
talked about
watch
the
it,
first
right?
episode. I haven't gotten a chance to watch that. The second one, I haven't gotten a chance to watch Moon Knight because I've been
By
in,
last episode, had you watched the first episode? I feel like you said you didn't.
yeah.
watch
We talked about me watching the first episode the last time, I think, because we did. I remember talking about it.
Do you remember, Emerson?
What were we talking about?
I saw the first episode of Halo in the last episode, and we discussed it, right?
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I don't think we talked about. I think you said you didn't get a chance to watch it.
No, I thought I said I did, but I mean, we could discuss it again.
Well, did you like it?
It was average. I said, I think.
Oh, I do sort of remember talking about how I felt like if they didn't give Master Chief some type of like mystery about himself, that there
Yeah.
was no show. So you haven't watched episode 2?
No, I have not watched Moon Knight either because I've been out of town. But
I haven't watched Halo, and I probably never will. I don't know. Like maybe, I don't know.
I've heard mixed. I want to talk about Moon Knight though because I've heard mixed things about it.
I will say I am curious about the level of quality for Halo episode 2, given that it's not the pilot. I'd like to see
Right.
how it changed.
If there's improvement.
Yeah. But all right, let's talk about Moon Knight. Ever, we're gonna talk spoilers about it.
Yeah, be my guest. That's fine.
There's actually not much to spoil.
I didn't think it was great. I think they undercut it with humor far too much. I think it was kind of bland.
I normally agree with you, but I didn't feel that way. I didn't think the humor was spot on, but I was just like, all right, I'm along for the ride. It's
Well, where would you guys put it, like in contrast to the other shows we've seen? Because I remember at the beginning of Hawkeye, we were all like over the moon, like, oh wow, this is great compared to the others.
I think
And then it
Loki is maybe slightly better so far.
Okay.
We're just comparing first episode to like first episode. I
Uh-huh.
liked
Okay.
Loki better, just barely. Moon Knight wasn't bad. Emerson was pretty harsh on it. I don't really feel like. I thought that it was decent. I don't know that much about Moon Knight. So basically what's happening is, I forget what the guy's name is, Steven or some shit like that. And he keeps falling asleep and like waking up in weird places. And there's like clearly some type of power possessing him he's doing crazy things while he's asleep and he doesn't know what's going on. And people know him, but he doesn't know them. And it's okay. It's not bad. I would just say
To the conclusion that it's probably something in the fan. Otherwise, if it explodes, it was a good last episode.
It's the least interesting part for me was when the superhero shows up at the end. Like that was a part where I'm like, first of all, he looks stupid. I know people are gushing over the costume, but they always do.
Oh wait, okay, you're talking about the superhero version.
You're talking about he's talking about Moon Knight.
Moon Knight
I
shows up at the end.
What do you think of Ethan Hawke?
I thought he was fine. We haven't seen enough of him.
Yeah, I thought he was fine too. But the thing with me is like, I don't know. I was looking, and this is just my personal issue. I was kind of looking for more of like a horror aspect. They had a little bit of it, but I was interested in like he doesn't know what's going on. He's fighting himself. He's not sure where he is. And they kind of had that, but it just felt sort of like blasé to
You're
me.
never gonna get that.
Yeah, and that makes me sad.
Over.
Like
that's like Daredevil tone. You're never gonna get that.
Also, don't you agree that fucking scene with the car chase in Italy when the logs come down was the fucking worst CGI?
It had some pretty rough CGI in that sequence, yeah. Yeah, I just thought like when Moon Knight shows up, I'm supposed to be like hyped, I guess.
Do you
But
actually see Moon Knight do anything, or
Yeah, and he
You
looks
see him
stupid.
stand up.
No, he punches the guy with his cape.
It's the scene from the trailer of it where he's punching the guy
He
and then
punches.
he gets
It's
up
like a
and looks at
monster
the
or
camera.
something. I don't know.
It's a jackal.
Yeah, I don't think that I just thought like, wow, and then here comes the generic superhero crap.
there's like two things I remember about Moon Knight from the comics, and the first of which being like he's like possessed by like an Egyptian god that makes him incredibly violent. And then the other one is like he has like a mental disorder that lets him take like it's like multiple personality disorder. He takes the
Yeah.
personalities from
There's
different
the
Marvel
multiple
heroes.
personalities. There is the God, but it's not like explained.
Okay.
He's just, I don't know. I just like they say he's Marvel's Batman because he's so dark and gritty, and instead it's, I don't know. I just thought he looks like a diaper. He looks like a
Toilet
walking
paper man.
diaper. There's Moon Knight. So Hot Toys like teased the figure,
Yeah, I saw that.
so you can see what it's supposed to look like. I mean, I just don't think that he looks very good. Looks like Diaper Man. There was actually leaks. Did you see the leaks, Everett?
I've seen a couple pictures. I don't know if they would be considered
These
leaks.
are leaks. These were not officially released.
Oh, then yes, I've seen them.
I mean, I don't know.
He looks
what's
like a
cool
Black
about
Series
this?
figure or like a
What's
Marvel
cool?
Legends figure.
Yeah, but what's cool about this? Like, what am I supposed to be excited about? Face doesn't look particularly.
You have to
know.
really like the character to get into this because I don't like it because I don't think it's comic accurate enough. It's too rap like. It needs to be more flat white.
Well, I mean, they gave it some texture.
Yeah, but I don't like that. That's not what he's supposed to look like.
Is he supposed to be a mummy?
No, he's just supposed to have like
He kind of, there's got to be something to do with a mummy.
I don't maybe in the show, but I don't know.
No, but I'm
I don't know
saying
the
like they
comics.
must be inspiring
Egypt,
to some
like-
point.
I mean, if it's Egyptian, then yeah, I'm guessing. But
Yeah, but I'm saying like there is Egyptian stuff in the show. So like, what is he supposed to look like? Because he looks weird.
it's more like a flat white.
I mean, yeah, but you can't put that on.
Like look at
TV.
the one of him standing in front of the moon is a good one.
But like
that
you
one.
can't put that costume on TV
Yeah, I know, but
unless you want him to wear like a bodysuit with the muscles, or like, what did you think?
maybe I like the bodysuit better than the wrap. Like if they were to make like a not like yeah, I guess sort of like think like the like Batman v Superman the bat suit, but it's like stark white.
But that's what I was asking. Like, what is he supposed to be? Because they're definitely doing a mummy thing. Is he supposed to be a mummy?
I don't think he's supposed to be a mummy. I think they're trying to make him inspired by being a mummy. I'm 95% sure that's the case.
I mean, I kind of hate that look. Like,
Maybe
maybe I'll like the character and forget about it. But like, I don't know.
He's gotten popular recently
that's a
over
cool
like
picture,
there's
though.
like a bunch of memes that people make of him with fake dialogue. I don't know. I must remember the one that I used to send you, the Dracula, I know you're here, where's my fucking money?
Yes, I like that one. That was funny.
So I don't know enough about the character to really say, did they do it right? I thought that the show was entertaining enough for me to check out the second one. I kind of hope that the superhero part is played down a bit and the mental side is played up. Because,
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, because the superhero part was not great, just based on the little bit that we saw.
Well,
I
haven't seen it, but I kind of wanted them to do the whole. If it's really, this is set in the MCU, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they could have totally gone with the real multiple personality disorder thing that he has, which is he like has personalities based off the heroes of the Marvel universe, and they help him fight in combat. I would have kind of liked that a little bit.
To that. I don't know. Like,
that'd be interesting to see, but you need like famous actors for that, I guess.
We'll see. I don't know. I was okay. I give it a win for now. We'll see what episode 2 brings. Hopefully it's not just filler.
All right.
All right. Anything for Roundup?
I didn't watch anything.
Oh, I finished Vikings.
Oh, was it good?
No.
Oh no.
Unfortunately not. So like seasons 1 through 3, and let me just, I gotta check myself. The Vikings episode where they fight Paris. Which one was that? Season 3, episode 7. Okay, so seasons 1 through 3 are, I think, like, you watch it. Like, I put my name behind that. Go ahead and watch it. After that, it takes an interesting turn. I'll just spoil it for you now. Ragnar Lothbrok dies, and then his sons kind of fight over what's left. And so that's kind of like who's going to end up on top. The weird thing is, and I don't know if they were all like this, but each season from 4, 5, and 6 is 20 episodes, 20 hours each.
Jesus.
So I'm like, that's a lot. And by season 4, you're kind of feeling it. And they start really dragging shit out. And I don't mean in terms of filler, but like in terms of slow motion. Like one scene, one moment might take like 5 minutes of screen time.
Jesus.
And I'm like, okay. Season 4 is still good. But I think that's when Ragnar dies. I think season 5 to me has the best moments, but overall is like the biggest, like, what are we doing? Like, where's it all going? There, I don't know. I think I sent you guys a clip where Ivar the Boneless like taunts the enemy in Old Norse, and like that's pretty cool. As far as like my graphic novel and just like looking at references, there's a lot of cool shit in there, but story wise, it's terrible. And then I'm like, okay, here we go. Like last season, 20 episodes. That's a lot. The first, they're in 2 parts. The first 10 are okay, pretty decent. And then the last 10, you feel like they're going to build up to something. And it was just like a total waste of time. Like I actually skipped in the second 10, I skipped 5 episodes. I just read the synopsis, just going episode by episode, waiting for them to actually get to something like meaningful. And I got all the way to like the second to last episode where they actually started fighting. And I just thought, like, in the very last part, Ivar is rushing out to his death against the armies of Wessex and King Alfred the Great. And it's like fucking slow motion. His brother Vitserk is on his hands and knees like, Ivar. And they're like, dude, it's slow motion for fucking like 5 minutes of them just like looking at each other across the battlefield and shit like that. I'm like, yeah, you guys are just trying to fill time.
Yeah. So like, does it end with something really stupid?
It depends. This show was never as well celebrated as Game of Thrones. If it was as popular, the ending would have been pretty bad. Like they have like the person who ends up on the throne at the end is like some bitch I don't even care about. Like, where did she come from? Like, it's worse than Bran coming out of nowhere.
Yikes.
And like there's no real meaningful end. Like Ivar dies and Vitserk becomes a Christian. Like, who cares? And Ube and Floki are like in North America with American Indians and shit. I don't know
What
what
the
the fuck.
fuck?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, well, this is a lot of hours of TV that you built up to this. There's not a real ending. Like,
So basically they had something good, sort of like a lot of good shows, and then they just dragged it out till it didn't.
the show ends when Ragnar dies. I can say that now. People will say that in the comments because like he was such a cool character, but actually narratively, like the show basically ends. Pretty soon after that, the sons of Ragnar come together and take revenge on King Aela and they kill him. And so like that's cool to see. You're at that point, you're not like, oh, the show's over. Why am I watching this? You're like, oh, this is like they're doing stuff. Then they start fighting and then it just drags on. And that's where you can get suckered into like spending 3 seasons of bullshit. But I will still say, like, watch up to Ragnar's death because it's worth watching from that point on. They're doing some cool shit there. Even in the last seasons, I'm like, the scale of the battles that they're putting out there is really impressive for television. Like, really impressive. I think they're coming out, maybe it's already out, something called Vikings Valhalla, which is like a century after the end of this show, where they're just gonna follow different characters like Leif Erikson, shit like that.
That could be interesting.
Well, I'm like, yeah, if you're not going to make it this long form bullshit thing, if you're actually just be like, all right, I'm going to tell a story. It takes 5 episodes of Leif Erikson, done. I'm like, that would actually be better. So anyway, I didn't watch anything else.
Okay.
I have something minor for gaming. It's just like a minor
Okay.
comment. I did a sort of an experiment before I left on my trip. Is I played a little bit more of Spider-Man PS4 before I left, and then when I got to New York, I went to some places that I visited in game, and it's so amazing how well detailed that game is. Like standing like on the bridge in front of Grand Central, or even being in the terminal, like the Flatiron Building. It's so interesting to see it in game and then in real life. It's props to that game. I'm really excited for the sequel.
The only thing is that the buildings are like really scaled, kind of small.
Yeah, that's true. But
Yeah, but I agree. Like, I think it's cool. You know what? GTA did a good job too in LA. Like all the places that we go around.
Yeah, before it became we want to part you with your money
Yeah.
via any means necessary.
yeah,
All right, so let's go over some news. This is a bunch. There's like not that much news, so this is just a bunch of small shit. Um, Boba Fett is unrecognizable. A new concept art from show's second season. I thought
It's
Everett.
pretty recognizable there.
yeah. The bald head's a
Here it
big
is.
giveaway.
I mean, he looks a little better. I don't mind that outfit.
He looks like something out of Dark Souls, I guess. Not Dark Souls.
He looks like Dune.
What's that other game?
That fat guy, that fat bald guy.
Fuck it. It's one of the Dark Souls games.
Sekiro.
No, the other one.
Oh.
Fuck, this is gonna drive me nuts.
Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness merchandise reveals a previously unseen variant.
I
Let's
think
see
I
if
saw
it's
that.
unseen to us. So there is Doctor Strange, Defender Strange, Supreme Strange.
Yeah, that's the evil
No.
one.
Okay. The Scarlet Witch, Wong, Defender Wong, America Chavez, Master Mordo, Dr. Christine Palmer, Chase Rintra, Chase Garga. So what variant was it?
I don't fucking know. I feel like we've talked about all those guys.
Bloodborne, that's the game I was thinking of.
Oh. Okay, that's Defender Strange.
We
is not
definitely
there,
already
yeah.
knew that was there. It is.
Daredevil. Marvel's website removes bio suggesting Netflix TV series is canon in the MCU. That actually makes a lot of sense because he's not going to be anything like the version that we saw. The costume's going to be different. They already told all the best stories. It doesn't make much sense. They
Yeah.
might pick and choose the pieces of it that they like, and yeah. Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind trailer. Do you guys know what this is?
No.
It's not the third
Oh,
one,
it's
right?
a roller coaster.
Oh, I was completely wrong.
Cool.
Wait a minute, they already have a Guardians ride at Disneyland.
Yeah, is that it? Is that what it's called?
No, the Tower of Terror is what they turned.
Isn't
it
that
into.
Disneyland, Florida?
Disney World.
Isn't
Disney-
that where the new one is coming out?
Oh, if it's in Florida, then yeah, that's
I don't
fine.
know.
Okay.
Morbius opens with 84 million at the worldwide box office for a debut that sucked.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck comicbookmovie.com.
It's likely we'll see Morbius co-starring in another Sony Marvel movie versus a sequel. It would be hard to make a sequel to Morbius. Even if the reviews on part 2 are through the roof, it's very hard business-wise to convince the audience of that and bring them back. Why? Why can't you make a sequel to a movie that had reviews through the roof? What's that logic? Even if the reviews on part 2 are through the roof.
Hey, they're idiots. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So they're doing Craven and Madam Web. What the fuck? Oh, let's see. What did and didn't work? It didn't work the visual effects. I disagree.
That's a
I
lie.
disagree on that.
Didn't work. Post-credit scene nonsense.
I agree.
Come on. Did work. Jared Leto's living vampire. I thought he was fine. I mean, there wasn't enough vampire shit, I think. Didn't work the Venom verse.
I agree.
Yeah.
It was weird
I
when he
sort of
said
forgot
I'm
what Venom
Venom.
looked like.
What was up with that? Everything about Matt Smith's villain.
I think Matt Smith's villain was fine.
I think he should have been the only vampire. Some admittedly cool action scenes. Yeah. I thought so. Didn't work. An incoherent story.
Yeah, but Venom was the same.
Same. Yeah. Click it. Didn't work. A bloodless vampire movie. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
I think they tried as hard as they could. Like they went as hard as they could
PG-13,
for PG-13.
Yep. Morbius director Daniel Espinosa responds to the movie 17% score on Rotten Tomatoes. What does he say? When I did my first feature, it was a small movie called Babylon Disease. I remember one day going home on the subway and I had a few drinks, so I was a bit drunk. Someone nudged me on the train and said, I have to tell you what's wrong with the second scene in your feature. And I was like, well, okay. The point I'm making is it's a strange thing to make something so public. Look, I have a lot of self hatred, so I have a lot of criticism of my own work. I'm always trying to focus on being better, but I'm also proud of what I do. There are parts in all of my movies that I'm really proud of. Well, yeah, there are parts to be proud of.
Okay.
I have a lot of self hatred. That's funny. Well, how about you hate it before you make it? Like, how about you say, "Oh, the scene sucks. So I hate myself, and let me make it better." Disney Plus removes tribute to the late Reg E. Cathey. Why?
Yeah, why?
So have been removed. We have no idea why. Okay, I'm like, did he like turn out to be a rapist or something?
Did he resurrect?
This
So
is so
we
weird.
don't know why. Shang-Chi star Simu Liu will not sign Master of Kung Fu comic books at future convention appearances. Why?
Yeah, what? Why?
Or other comics deemed offensive. All autographs from Simu will be signed in English only.
Oh, is it because he thinks they're offensive?
Shang-Chi's first comic book appearance has Master of Kung Fu plastered right across the covers, but Liu's feelings are easy enough to understand. There's a lot of offensive imagery and wording on comics featuring the hero's early appearances. While it seems some have asked Liu
That's
to
why.
sign their items in Chinese, a pretty ignorant request when you stop and think about it. Well, I mean, it's just like, is it ignorant because they're assuming he can speak Chinese and write Chinese? Is that why it's offensive?
I guess. Or
I
it's I think it's supposed to be like, oh, it's novel because we have it in Chinese.
Are they
Listen,
saying?
I saw
What if
him
they
talk,
just
so
like
I'm kind of
Chinese? Like,
Yeah, what if you're Chinese and you want to have him sign it in Chinese? That's like asking
no,
someone to sign
but
something in
why do you
Spanish.
have to be Chinese? Why can't I be like, dude, I love like everything about China, and I love that it's like a Chinese character, and I want you to sign it in Chinese because I think that's fucking cool.
No, it's also,
Like,
I think,
get out
because
of here, you racist piece of shit.
one of the big criticisms of Shang-Chi before the movie was released was that the original character was like sort of racist. Like he was like a
It's a
caricature almost.
stereotype. Yeah, he does
Yeah.
kung fu. Like, stereotypes are born out of truth. Like, they're known for kung fu.
Oh God. Well,
Like,
guys,
that's
we'll see you in the next episode of our podcast.
but they're known for kung fu. Like, it's not. I know people like have made fun of them like by trying to imitate them, but only because it was so popular and cool. Like, so they do that with everything. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. Is he winning? Is he winning some type of war here that I don't understand?
Moral
Listen, when I
war.
saw him talk that other week, he said, "I'm manifesting peace in Europe," and that was the night Russia invaded Ukraine. So I think that he's not winning any sort of war.
But how many anti-Chinese people are coming up to him like, "Hey, I have this collector's edition of the first appearance of Shang-Chi because I hate him so much. Can you please sign it in Chinese because I hate Chinese people?" And he's like, I will not do this. I will not give you ammunition for your race war." He's like, "Oh man, now I can't sell it on eBay." Like, all right, Dune Part 2, likely to include this discarded sandworm idea. First movie's original ending revealed. Was the sandworm in the movie? It was, wasn't it?
In
This one was, but what are they talking about? There's a quote down there.
Sandworm was in the movie.
It was something that was only ever in the storyboard phase and not developed further, but we did create a few sounds for it. The scrap was psychedelic. We had Paul seeing the sand trout and came up with a very strange
Oh,
sound,
I see.
like a watery heartbeat that could be tapped into for part 2. What? I don't know.
It's about the life cycle of the worms. There's like a very complicated life cycle that's like involved with all of Arrakis's like life.
All right. Moon Knight head writer explains why Bushman and classic supporting cast aren't in the series.
Them call me Bushmaster.
All right, this is our last episode, guys.
Honestly, we didn't have room for his classic supporting cast. I don't know who Bushman is. Do you know? Does anybody know?
No.
He's too close to Black Panther's Eric Killmonger.
Okay.
They called them Bushmen.
iconic foes, responsible for leading Mark Spector for dead all those years ago. He's plagued the hero ever since, though eventually had his face cut off by the vigilante. As for why he's not part of the series, he's just too close to Black Panther's Eric Killmonger. Okay, I mean, that's a good reason, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
Ezra Miller has now been hit with a restraining order after allegedly threatening to bury a couple.
Yeah, I heard he's been going through some
I
shit.
said this to Kia, but how fucking funny would it be if by the 5th Fantastic Beasts movie they have none of the original cast because they've had to recast everybody? That would be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's just the one Muggle guy.
Yeah.
But
Then it comes out
I don't
right
know.
before
This
the
guy
final,
seems
but
to
he's
be
like a
crazy.
rapist.
Like, shouldn't they? Like, I mean, what they did
Just
to
that
Johnny
gift.
Depp,
Stop
right?
it. Get some help.
Yeah, but the thing is, they didn't actually care about Johnny Depp. They were just like virtue signaling.
Yeah. So
This is the
I'm
type
like,
of thing people don't care about because it's assault.
does he not have
Ooh.
enemies that people are like, all right, we had enough? I don't know. All right. Fantastic Four writer reveals what went wrong with the 2015 reboot, shares dream MCU project after Moon Knight. So the guy who wrote Moon Knight penned the screenplay for Fantastic Four at one point. So I guess he didn't. Okay. Well, most of my problems with Fantastic Four stem from the fact that I was trying to write it like an MCU movie, which wasn't what the director wanted. Okay. Trust me, they don't need my stink on another Fantastic Four. Plus, the Marvel creative execs on the project are brilliant. It's going to be awesome. Okay,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
confused because what do you mean wanting to write it like an MCU movie? What does that mean?
Well, have you
Me
seen it?
For Ragnarok Fantastic Four edition.
Have you seen the Fan
Yeah.
Four stick?
Yeah, I know that that's like darker, but what does he think it means to write a movie like an MCU movie? Like, why would that be a good thing? Why would you try to like do the formulaic thing and not do like a new fresh thing? And what does that say about Moon Knight, where he took some, like, the grittiest character, the so-called Marvel Batman, and I wrote it like an MCU movie? Like that, I don't know.
See it. Suffer.
It's
Yeah,
interesting that there's
Jesus.
still no movement, no announcement for anything Spider-Man related, and the director is doing Fantastic Four. Like, what are they going to do with him?
They're gonna kill them all.
Shazam 2 director David F. Sandberg explains why he no longer wants to helm a Superman movie. At one point, I would have said Superman, but when there's so many different expectations and hardcore fans, you're going to piss off so many people no matter what you do. Seeing how people react to things like The Last Jedi makes me want to stay away from things like that. Shazam was perfect in that there hadn't been many adaptations before. There are still people who think it was done wrong, but it was on a manageable level.
That's a bullshit cop-out excuse.
It's a good
Last Jedi-
excuse.
No, Last Jedi was bad because it was bad, not because it was like
Shazam wasn't even that bad.
Well, they're all bad. Shazam was fine, but
yeah,
obviously,
Shazam
like,
was fine.
how many times have you guys seen it?
Like 3
Once.
times.
I've seen it once. Yeah. So he's right. There's like less baggage. I get it. Superman would have so much baggage. Still, I would take the payday. Moon Knight star Oscar Isaac has no contractual commitments to the MCU beyond Disney Plus limited series. This is what's interesting to me.
I think that makes sense. He doesn't want to be a Marvel.
Right, but how could they allow that? And then you read like the comments of people like, well, yeah, obviously the MCU doesn't need to hold on to actors anymore because their movies are so profitable that actors want to keep showing up. It's like, yeah, but contractually, you want to lock them in for obvious reasons.
Unless
I
they
wouldn't
assume
be
like
surprised if the end of this show is like Moon Knight passes to someone else.
Well, I mean, but let's just talk about the fact that like contracts, like you don't want someone to do a movie like let's say Chris Hemsworth is in Thor, and we're like, we love you, and he's like, all right, give me $1 billion to show up again, and they're like, well, we can't. How about we give you $500 million? And he's like, I want 1 billion, or I will not return. And they're like, okay, now
No,
what?
you need contracts. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how big the MCU gets. They need contracts to also ensure they can make the movies at the times they want.
Yeah.
So I had heard of the Golden making handcuffs, which is like, hey, you got so much money, but you're stuck in the contract. That was something I was reticent about, and luckily we all agreed that this show is what we're going to focus on. This is the story, and if there's any kind of future, I think it just depends on if people like it, if people want to see more, and if we find a story worth telling. I mean, I like that. I just think like
Yeah,
contractually,
but
how
that's
do
the
you?
same bullshit we hear from every fucking person these days. Remember when The Dark Knight, when Robert Pattinson was like, I mean, we don't really need to make a second one. We'll only do it if people like it. And then it was like, you 100% tricked
It's
us.
psychological tactics. They're
Yeah.
trying to make it seem more appealing.
So then, but now they're gonna have to like drop a dump load of money, a dump truck load of money, right? Like to bring him back.
I mean,
We'll
I
see how it
guess.
ends. But I read a leak. I don't think he's gonna die at the end. I don't know. Jim Carrey isn't a fan of the Batman's take on the Riddler and worries sickos could copy his actions. He's kind of to each his own and all that. I love Paul Dano as an actor. He's a tremendous actor. There's a spot of worry in me over gaffer taping people's faces and encouraging people to do the same. Some sickos out there that might adopt that method. I do have a conscience about the things I choose. Robotnik has cartoon bombs and no one gets hurt. I know there's a place for the Batman and I don't want to criticize it, but it's not my kind of thing. It's very well done. Those movies are very well done. So he decided like after he filmed Kick Ass 2 or 3 or something,
It was two.
he turned his back on it. I was like, I don't want to do those movies anymore for the violence. So at least he's consistent.
Yeah. And I understand what he's saying. Like we've talked about this before. I think we talked about it in like Joker 2019 or whatever, where it's like, we're not saying, oh, you can't do this stuff, but you do have to acknowledge like there are people out there who are going to look at that and be like, I want to be that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Morbius' audience score is in, it's a 65%, whereas the critic score is 17%.
I think the audience score is about fair.
I think
I
that's
think-
right. Yeah. 65. It's passing.
Hey, 65.
The Marvels, deep cut character with ties to Silver Surfer, may be making their MCU debut. Actor Colin Stoneley may have let slip via his resume on Mandy.com that he has landed a role in the upcoming Captain Marvel series and that his character may have ties to the Herald of Galactus.
Okay.
I mean, that would be one way to spice up that
He's
show.
included as the role of Papton, a Kree scientist.
Yeah, who experimented on Silver Surfer's board.
Okay, so they don't know.
So
All right,
it's not
wonderful.
Silver Surfer. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's Silver Surfer's cousin's friend who once.
Did you guys see the leaked video of Vader versus Obi-Wan on set?
No,
No.
what was it?
They're basically just lock swords for a while, and then he force pushes him away.
That's stupid.
So like they're doing that. It looks like they're on Tatooine, doesn't it? Pulls him away. That's it.
I mean, if it's a longer fight than just that, that could be cool. But
That's the
Yeah.
entire fight.
I could see that being the entire fight, and then he
Maybe.
force pushes him, and then he runs. Like,
Some Spider-Man concept art. I don't know what the news article is supposed to be about this. It doesn't make okay.
okay,
Star Trek. Chris Pine explains why the franchise needs to stop trying to copy Marvel Studios.
why does it still exist, bro?
Are they still doing stuff for Star Trek?
We always tried to get the huge international market. It was always about making the $1 billion. It was always this $1 billion mark because Marvel was making $1 billion. We struggled with it because Star Trek, for whatever reason, its core audience is rabid. Like rabid, as you know, to get these people that are interested, that maybe a Star Wars fan or think Star Trek is not cool or whatever, proven to be. We've definitely done a good job of it, but not the $1 billion kind of job they want. I've always thought that Star Trek should operate in the zone that is smaller. You know, it's not a Marvel appeal. It's like, let's make a movie for the people that love this group of people, that love this story, that love Star Trek. Let's make it for them. And then if people want to come to the party, great. But make it for a price and make it so that if it makes $500 million, that's really good. I mean, yeah, I think he's right.
Yeah. I can
Yeah,
agree with that.
and that's just the bigger issue where every studio these days wants a universe and connection, and like that's
Yeah.
why everything's
Well-
become so cookie cutter. Like that's why fucking King Kong has a cinematic universe.
I don't think they've started making films for Star Trek again. They're really going nuts on the shows, though.
The next Star Trek movie doesn't currently have a release date.
Star
I
Trek
mean,
9/11.
the guy that played Chekhov died, so
Yeah, I don't think that'd stop him.
All right. I think that's it.
Do you have a game
Uh,
of smartass, Everett?
not this week because
No.
I've been out of this state.
That's fair.
Okay, so
Godfather 2?
Are we doing Godfather 2?
Ooh,
Yeah,
sure.
I'm down. So there's not a book for this, is there?
Not that I don't think so. No, not a real book.
Isn't there that companion piece that you told us about, or
That's a different novel where it's not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not advocating to read
So
that.
just to be clear, this Godfather 2 was like the first one did so well that he decided to just make a sequel.
Yeah,
Okay,
Well,
I'm interested.
the
I'm
public
interested.
demanded it. Okay, here's what I'm gonna recommend that we do: is a double header. Watch 2 and 3.
oh
How
Jesus?
many
Okay.
fucking hours is that?
I don't know, but the thing is, like, 3 is necessary to the conversation, but
Okay.
we don't want to spend a whole week watching 3.
Okay.
Trust me. So
Okay.
like once you watch 2, put on 3 and just see what they did,
What the
because
Godfather 2 is 3 hours and 22 minutes.
yeah, that sounds like, yeah, watch like an
Jesus.
hour a night.
What's Godfather 3?
2 hours and 42 minutes.
Okay. 6 hours of movies. Here we go.
I mean, we watch shows that are like
That's true.
garbage
That is,
for like 9 hours.
I
So.
could have
but
watched
it's been
both
a
those on my
long
flight
time since
yesterday.
we've watched a really garbage show.
We could do a commentary on Godfather 3.
Dude, we would literally burn out after 45 minutes.
Yeah.
There's no way we're doing a commentary on like a almost 3 hour long.
Godfather 3 is truly special, but I think we should just discuss them both and be done with it.
Okay.
All right.
So watch it an hour a night, whatever you got to do. Let's make it happen.
Okay.
right.
Jesus Christ. What a fucking
Yeah.
holy shit.
You guys do want to review Lord of the Rings at some point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm down to do Lord of the Rings. Those are long.
Are we
Those
doing The
long.
Hobbit too? Or
I would really like to not do it, but we can if you
I
guys
never
want.
saw some of them. I don't know.
Probably the second and third you never saw.
We still got to do Christopher Nolan stuff.
there's a lot of stuff we got to do.
There's 28 weeks here, not counting. Well, we're gonna get rid of 2 of them right now, so we have 26 movies on the list in addition to any new releases. So let's look at upcoming. What's like the next movie that is on our
Doctor
radar?
Strange coming out in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's Doctor Strange too.
3 weeks?
Yeah, it's like May 4th or something, right? Or
Jesus, like
hold on.
there was a time where I would not like stop thinking about that movie.
Yeah, and now it's like, oh, it's coming.
May 4th.
But part of that was the pandemic, where it's like these movies have been announced and trailered for so long. Like,
That's true. Father Stew. Here, I guess.
or should I say, the pandemic? Now we're really gonna get demonetized.
April 15th, Fantastic Beasts.
Really?
Oh shit!
Oh,
we have
God.
to see it. We have to see it.
Isn't Fantastic Beasts 2 the
Thank you.
first time we started
We-
doing Fight
We
of the Week?
have to do it. Yes, Fantastic Beasts
Yeah,
2
when-
was the very
when they
first
killed
fight of
Newt
the week.
Scamander, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that puts us at, so we have 1 week and then
We
Fantastic
have to
Beasts. And then after that, you guys said it was Doctor Strange?
Doctor Strange is in 3
May.
weeks, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's May 4th.
Oh, it's
So
in
we're-
May. Okay.
We're gonna have
so
something before that.
Where is Doctor Strange?
It's right there.
There
Oh,
it is.
There it is, May 6th. Oh, it's actually, we have 2 weeks, don't we? So we have this week for Godfather. We have next week for
We can
Fantastic
do
Beasts.
Hurt
We have-
Locker after.
And we have 2 more weeks.
So
Yeah.
one of those should be Hurt Locker, I think.
All
Yeah.
right.
Hurt Locker, is there another one to pair Hurt Locker with that's thematically similar? No.
American Sniper.
No, I'm not watching that shit again.
What do you
all
mean?
right.
You don't want to see the post-credit scene where he shoots looters after Hurricane Katrina?
All right, so I think that's it. I'll see you guys next week for a double header.
See you guys.
See ya.
Yeah.